morning. How are you today? I want to say to everyone, how are you? And I hope you're getting blessed. Us reading through 1 Samuel. We got to read a lot today because there's one story here told in such an elaborate way with so many verses about how David and his buddy Jonathan planned for David to be protected from Jonathan's crazy father at this point, King Saul. Verse 16, chapter 20. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David because he's so sure he will be king, although looks are not very promising, saying, may the Lord call David's enemies to account. Isn't that good? May the Lord call David's enemies to account. And Jonathan had David reaffirm his oath out of love for him because he loved him as he loved himself. So I'm going to wait for Monday to read the long portion of going out in the field and getting a warning by shooting an arrow, whether Saul's on the warpath or he's not. But let's just read this again. So Jonathan, King Saul's son, made a covenant with the house of David. Not just David, but his descendants. And that's how sure he was he would be king. As in Solomon and then all the kings that followed that. Rehoboam. So may the Lord call David's enemies to account. So we're not going to strike back at David's enemies in this case. May the Lord call them to account. So we don't fight battles with swords. We're not to kill anybody. We're to bless those that curse us. We're to love our enemies. Again, New Testament, different world. Please remember that. You'll get into confusion. Or you'll be teaching, like I know of some churches in certain part of the world, women, after they have a baby, can't come to church right away because they need times of purification according to the book of Leviticus or the Old Testament. No, they can come 2 days after they give birth, if they're able. And on and on. But may God take care of David's enemies. Notice David had enemies. What did David do to have enemies? He had enemies, not just the Philistines. He had enemies in his own camp, like the king and whoever was tight with the king. So you can be in God's perfect will and have enemies. Witness Jesus. How was that when Jesus was teaching and they're all listening? Blessed are the poor in spirit. He's teaching. And on the edge of the crowd, the Lord knows that some of the religious leaders are going, we got to kill him. See the way the crowds are? We're not going to admit we're jealous, but we are. But we won't just ignore him. We got to kill him. How do you minister when people are planning to kill you? The Lord did it. Paul had enemies. Among the Jews, among the Gentiles, false brethren, the apostle says, his life was not so easy. Well, what do you do to those enemies? The best thing is, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Let God take care of your enemies today. God, give me grace that, when you're a pastor and you have a program like this, or you stand up and preach and you go to conferences and people watch you. People, over the years, I've noticed, I get 100 emails. 98 say, you are a blessing. Oh, my goodness. God used you to do such and such. Praise God. And like I'm Superman, Batman, Robin, the Apostle Paul, the prophet Samuel, and a little dab of Moses put in. The other two say, you devil, who do you think you are? You're misleading people in the church, in Christendom, and you're teaching that I don't agree with your teaching and I'm going to destroy you. Or whatever, you're a devil. I got an email once. Someone said, This is 15 years ago or so. I followed your ministry, read some of your books, and I visited your church, and I enjoyed the meeting until you turned and asked one of the choir members, a woman, to pray for the offering. She was talking in the church. I'll never visit again. You should be ashamed of yourself, you false prophet. See? There you go. No one sees you, and you too. No one sees me for who I am. Just a guy. Frail, faulty, but hopefully doing my best with the light that I have, trying to preach the gospel. If someone comes to me and says, you did such and such, and I know it's true, hey, I'll bow on my knees and say, I'm sorry. But no matter what you do, you will have enemies. If you don't have enemies, if all men speak well of you, you have a major problem. That's what the New Testament teaches us. Because if you stand for truth, those who are into lies are against you. If you stand for Jesus, those who are against Jesus don't like you. If you're preaching love, people who live in hate are convicted of it, and rather than admit they're convicted, they say, oh, who do you think you are? You're a fake, you're a phony. Whatever. Come on, today, leave it with God, or else you're going to worry yourself to death over it. Come on, that's what happens. And we're all sensitive, but God can use our enemies to break us, melt us, make us more like Christ. And Jonathan had David reaffirm his oath out of love for him because he loved him as he loved himself. Oh, my. This was no impure love. And the gay community, LGBTQ, tries to say, see, David and Jonathan had something going on. False. That's not the word that's used there. In other words, it's possible for two people of the same sex to love each other in the Lord and really have a special bond of support. I see God's hand on you, David, Jonathan said. David was saying, I see that you care about my life and you're not falling in line with your father and trying to kill me. Friends are a gift from God, but to have them, you have to show yourself friendly. You know what I've learned over the years? A lot of people are, that's the last friend I'll have. You know what happened to me when I was in junior high school? I had a friend, and Martin turned on me right near graduation and did me dirty. It's the last time I will ever open up and have a friend. What a great life you must have led. You're now 52, and you're talking about junior high. But that's how we are. We get gun shy. But friends are a blessing from God, aren't they? So let's thank God for friends, as we've been talking, and let's show ourselves friendly. Let's be a friend to someone. The biggest disease in America right now is loneliness. Come on, I'm not trying to sound trite, but can't we ask God to come alongside someone today and say, let me be your friend, or at least let me show a friendly gesture. Someone whose heart is breaking, that might be just what they need. God bless you, and we will see you Monday.